across another one of these Yamaha FG720S series guitars. Oh, the last one was a 730, this is a 720. And even the black ones come with a solid spruce top, Sitka, and mahogany back and sides, so it's, sometimes black ones, they hide basswood under the varnish. These are nicely made guitars, and I expect this will be gone in a day or two, so I'm going to hold it for a minute. But I did two videos recently about the Craigslist issue, and without going on too much more about it, just wanted to put a lid on it. Basically what it amounts to is I'm just giving the site a rest. I'm taking my stuff off there and giving it a rest. I laboured with the problems that I discussed in those two videos for about a week and a half. Some days it would be fine, other days I would get postings removed. Sometimes they would be flagged by other people. And remember, I suspected there might be a single vindictive person with the ability to send multiple flags to an item and get something kicked off, which I'm not convinced is not the case, even though people have told me that that's a myth and impossible. It just seemed that when I ran into the person that was posting asking people to flag my items, that's when my problems started in earnest. I've had little problems before then, but the main issue started at that point. So I really think it was the work of one or two vindictive people. Since then, I've also found, poking around the internet, pockets of people who set up flagging groups. I ran into a group that calls itself the Bicycle Flagger Group of Phoenix, somewhere in Arizona. I think it's Arizona. Well, Phoenix is in Arizona for sure, but I think the group operates on the Phoenix Craigslist page, and their idea, or what they want to do and spend all their time doing, is clean up the bicycle page, selling page on the Phoenix Craigslist site. So there's a bunch of them, and they have some sort of chat site. And whenever they see someone they suspect to be a dealer selling on as an owner on the bicycle page, one of them will put the note out and they'll all flag it and get it removed. And I was thinking, well, if someone's gone to the trouble to set that up for bicycle selling, then it's not out of the question that these types of things exists for people selling guitars and other musical instruments. So that might be the explanation. But anyway, I went through various days where things would get removed by other people, however it works, and it then seemed to weaken my account so that Craigslist itself would remove posts haphazardly, I have to say. And I sent something like 28 complaints through their complaint forum, where you can actually submit a complaint in writing. There's no customer service, there's no phone number that works, there's no way to talk to anyone, but there is a way to send a written complaint. I sent 28. After about 8 of them, I got an automated reply saying, if you don't violate any of these, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to sell. It was definitely not written by anyone. It was a form reply. And I scanned through their list of violations, and nothing on there was anything I violated. It talked a lot about illegal substances and illegal services and questionable listing habits, but it actually didn't say anything about the number of posts you're allowed to have at all. So I kept sending complaints saying I'm in compliance with your stated rules, but for some reason you or somebody else removes these ads. After a few days of doing that, which gets tiring, I decided to humor their system. Now what they do is, when you first look into making a complaint, is they try to funnel you to their forums. And they have a flagging forum. And I thought, well, I'll just humor it. I'll see how pointless this system is. This is supposed to be their substitute for a customer service policy. Let's just see how pointless and futile the system is. So I went on there and I picked a handle, something like private seller. And I put a note on there explaining what was happening. And immediately, within seconds, I got absolutely gangbanged. Oh, there should be a better way of putting that. I had a gaggle of what appeared to be very male. I could sense the testosterone. I guess they're moderators. I don't know if they're paid by Craigslist, but it seems like they all had different cities. They were moderating pages on different cities, but they all get together on the help pages to answer questions. So I put my situation on there, and they immediately came on and started to gang up on me. I would say 10 or 12 people. Most of their responses were rude, not very helpful, and I would say at least 10 of them resorted to ad hominem, name calling right away. You know, you're stupid, you're obviously a violator or you wouldn't be here. God, you're thick, aren't you? One of them said. And I thought, well, that's odd for an American to say. Must be a British moderator. But anyway, yeah, I got beset upon by all these people. Among the flurry of really rude and horrible messages, one of which threatened me with violence, which was odd. I learned a few things from one or two of them that were a bit more civil. And they weren't for very long. The more I asked questions, the more rude they got. But the things I learned is, according to this moderator, Craigslist considers an overposter anyone who sells multiple multiple items for the purposes of making money. And when I questioned them, saying, well, that makes us all dealers, doesn't it? If you repeat sell something, you're a dealer in the eyes of Craigslist. And all the people who are seeing the ads, if they see any sort of multiple listing, they'll just assume that this person's a dealer. I said, that doesn't make sense. You might be selling a number of items from your garage. You know, you might have some stuff left over from a party or something that you want to get rid of. The fact that you are listing multiple items doesn't mean that you're a dealer. And this guy said that a dealer, what we normally think of a dealer, is not how Craigslist defines a dealer. A dealer in the music world is somebody who has affiliations and has a supplier for their sources. If I were a Yamaha dealer, I would get Yamaha guitars wholesale and sell them at retail prices. That's not what, according to this fellow, that's not what is considered a dealer on Craigslist. It's anyone, either repeat selling, or anyone that is selling, getting stuff through any means and selling it to make a profit. So the fact that I fix up guitars and put them on there periodically makes me a dealer. That was his explanation of it. And when I questioned the logic of that there were literally millions of people selling repeated items on there, how could they possibly target some and not others? It wasn't consistently applied. You know, the rudeness and the desultory attitudes just came thick and fast. And I sort of humoured it for about half an hour, and then got off there. Said thanks for proving my point, and then got off there. So basically, Craigslist allows anyone to flag anyone for a very loose definition of what's allowed on that site. And basically, if you are listing multiple items, or it looks like you get items somehow and list them for the purposes of making money, a side income or something like that, supplemental income, you're a dealer, and therefore you deserve to be flagged off there. So, you know, having had that explanation, which I think is a really, I still think it's a really tacky explanation, and I think it's very unevenly applied. I thought to myself, well, you know, that pretty much makes anyone a dealer, unless you sell one thing one time. By that definition, anyone can be a dealer because, you know, you might once a year go through your garage and think, oh, I'd like to make $100. I'm going to put 10 items up. You're a dealer by those definitions. And anyone can flag you off that site or your items off that site. I think it's a bit more nefarious than that. I think it's definitely music people or people with a vendetta or some of these zealots that hang out on these moderated on the boards that get together and they just basically form little cliques and when they see somebody they think in violation, they just send enough flags to get them knocked off that site. And it's definitely an algorithm. I think one guy's claimed to say it takes 60 flags to get your first ad knocked off, and then the second time 30, then 10, then 5, and then after that 1, which explains why you know someone's able to knock mine off relatively easily. So another person came on there and said, I don't know this for sure, but if you get off the site for 2 weeks, 15 days, it should all reset. You'll run into the same problem again eventually, but it should all reset and you should be able to operate for a while. So I thought to myself, you know what, sod Craigslist. I think I'll just won't list on there for a while. It might even be more than 2 weeks. So I'm pulling all my stuff off there and you know, not just giving that place a break because it really does your head in, and I really don't like the way it's going. What it's becoming on there, and I don't like this sort of ad hoc management by the people, where the very worst of people can just arbitrarily go after certain posters, and it's all fine. You don't get any of that with Facebook Marketplace, so I'm going to, for local sales, I'm just going to do that for a while. Stay off Craigslist. It's a tough decision because I was actually, you know, getting some good income from there. But sometimes you have to put your principles first and, you know, act accordingly. So I'm thinking about looking into some other local selling sites to substitute for a while. And if I come into anything particularly interesting, I'll include it in one of my videos. And another thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to, as well as sell on Reverb and eBay, which I've been doing for years, as most of you know, I think I'm also going to add Amazon to that list. Because my instruments are all set up, I'm fairly confident that when I ship them out, if I box them well, that, you know, I will be able to meet the standards and be a good rated seller on there. Something I've been thinking about. I do like meeting people and selling instruments in person. It saves me on shipping, and then you don't have to worry about, you know, them being unhappy because, you know, if they come and like it, play it and pay the money for it, that's the transaction complete. So in a way it's sort of a blow to lose that forum for a while, or perhaps forever. But, you know, I think things happen for a reason, and perhaps it's time to reevaluate and look at some other possibilities. So I just thought I'd update on that. I know it's a rather long-winded video, but I did have 2 or 3 people that chimed in after my last Craigslist video, and they said, you know what, as much as I like your instrument videos when you show guitars, I actually like it better when you talk about the process of what you do and the tools and the systems of sale and things like that. So I thought, why not? Why not do a third wrap-up on the Craigslist issue to tell you where I'm at? And I know some of you, if you use that site, and some of you have run into the same problems, and some of you even told me you don't bother with it anymore. So I know that you can understand where I'm coming from, what I'm talking about. Anyway, next time there'll be something more tangible to show you. See you next time.